What's going on, everybody? It's Luke here again, bringing you another FBA video. Now, sorry, I was going to do a video yesterday, but I got home and I was ill, and I then spending up the whole evening in bed, so that was pretty good. But again, I'm still not feeling great today, but if I can talk, if I can put a laptop on my lap, I'm pretty much, then, you can do anything. So I guess that's the beauty of it. If you are ill, and you don't have to go to work physically, you can, even if it takes you double the amount of time to do things, you can still take action and do things and make it look like a progression towards something, as little as it may be, because it's better than sitting around. If you think about it, when you're working, you basically won't do any work. Some people might have their laptops, but a lot of people won't actually do anything on the days they're ill. Anyway, enough mumbling. If I'm sniffling a bit, excuse me. I'm just, let's just get through this. Anyway, I hope you're having a great Christmas. You got awesome plans for the new year. And we'll go from here. So this video is all about expense consolidation and Q1 or January, but Q1 tactics for basically for costs and profits and all that sort of thing. You've had a great Q4. You might have not been sourcing for a week or 10 days or something over the Christmas period. Some people will be. It just depends on you, because you're looking to then, that's the one time in the year I find that you can sort of tick through your stock, dwindle it down, and start afresh for the new year. Because you might find that a lot of your products are, potentially seasonal items, Christmas items, and I didn't last year, but this year I've not gone and just crash prices, but I've looked at maybe taking less profits just to clear out the older stuff so that I can sort of take a fresh outlook on Q1, Q2, blah blah blah, and so on and so on. And so this video will be about expense, basically reducing expenses and costs over Q1, so that one, you don't have to make as much profit to basically make money. You don't have, so the profit, all your money that you're making, obviously you've got to cover your expenses first, then maybe you're paying yourself some money, and you've got to then cover that, and so on, whatever you've got to pay out. Well, the more pressures you have on Q1 to make money when the market is, in Q1, the markets for all industries are pretty bad compared to Q4. So you can't really force sales through sometimes as much as you think, why aren't people buying? Why, it's a great item. I mean, yes, you get sales, yes, and that and the other. But you really, for me, the best thing is to reduce the expenses in Q1, so that the pressure's off, yeah? Because in Q4, for me, the expenses are going to be really high. I think I 3x my expenses, but now I've gone back and actually reduced it even more. So I probably have 20% of the costs that I had at one point in time in December, and that now means that the amount that I have to do, the pressure's off in January. The pressure's off. I'll have a clearer mind for the year ahead, because the last thing you want, which is what happened to me last year, is you have a great Q4. You might do, 50, 100 grand sales. Well, let's say you're doing 30 grand in sales, 30 to 40 grand over the couple of months. You take some decent money out, and you might take some for yourself because you feel that you've done the work, so you do because you've got the money. But then what you might find is that in January, you actually don't make that much profit, because you can't find sales. So you might only do, 10%. So the example I'll give you is that last year, for 2017, I did a 35 grand, 30 grand in December. But in January, I did 3 grand. So I 10x'd in the wrong direction down. Just because I didn't really know what I was doing as such. It was my first Q1, I wasn't sure how to approach it. I didn't know, until you really experience these things, you don't really know. You can predict, you take advice, you can look at other people, but each and every seller sells different things, is ungated in different things, has different tactics. Maybe if you do retail arbitrage, maybe you don't take a salary. There's lots of different variables in what you need to sort of evaluate. So, and what I found is that in January and February was pretty bad as well. I ended up eating into the profits from the Q4 period because I obviously have to pay myself a salary. Now, if you don't pay yourself a salary, it doesn't really matter. But you may have already paid yourself some money over Christmas because you think, wow, I made this money. Well, of course, I'm going to take some for myself because I'm not going to, the best tactics are to not take anything. So do be disciplined in the long term, but it's very difficult. It's natural, we're human. We're going to think, oh, I could get that. I could go on a holiday. I could have a nice Christmas for my family. I could do this, that, and the other. And most people will, and myself included. The best long-term strategy is to literally take nothing out ever. But that's, how you become either successful, very successful, different levels of success, isn't there? Of course. Anyway, that's a completely another discussion. So what I found is that I then ate in. So I then felt after January, the pressure was on more because I was like, oh, I already took, some rewards in December, and now I'm having to eat into even more because obviously you spent that reward. You didn't really know what was coming in January, so you've already used money, taken money out or whatever, and now the more the pressure starts to build because if you don't make enough money to cover. Now, hopefully that did not just go on standby for you guys. If it does, I'll try to keep on top of it. So you really, or for me, I'd rather do the opposite. I'd rather, because I see now each year on Amazon as a year, not like a quarter. I actually see it as a year. So Q1, for me, I'm very happy to reduce the expenses right down so that I know that the pressure's right off and I'm very easily, well, I should in theory, very easily cover these expenses. And actually, also, that then means that if you adopt that principle, but you, instead of bringing down your expenses because you're worried about your costs, you actually do the opposite and slowly bring them up if you need or if you're required to. If you're making good profit and you want more, products to source, then that's a good position to be in because now you're actually looking to find more because you have more money. But it's the other way around, and you're actually spending more because your expenses are high and you're losing or making less profit. You've then got to you sort of panic a bit because you need to rein in those expenses. Anyway, I sort of now I'm rambling. I'm a bit ill. I'm a bit like, when you're a little ill and you're sort of a little bit out of it. It's a bit like that today. So, and because I'm only going off last year. Okay, so each person's different. So this may, you might have your January could be half of what you did in Q4, and that's great. But I can only go off what I've done and what I would have liked to have known, even if I didn't actually apply it to my own business, because it's just interesting to know. Because I sold basically all toys. Now this year I don't sell hardly any toys over Q1. I'll only sell toys if I can't find enough products in the other categories. That's how I sort of will see it, because the profits are better in other categories. I usually find. So if that's the case, I'll only then find the toys if my capital allows it. I have leftover capital, and I then need to search for other stuff. So anyway, I'm going to go over. Literally, these are going to be the expenses that I am paying out. That is it. So you're going to see the actual costs, why I'm doing it, what I'm doing. And if you're a new seller, of course, some of these won't apply because you haven't built up sort of a rapport over the years on the platform. So it's a little bit difficult in some aspects, which I'll explain to you in a second. But you can still slowly try to adopt this going over the months, yeah. So what I'm going to start is I brought down my package on online arbitrage tools. Why do we keep calling it that? Online arbitrage deals. So I had the larger package, which was, well, I had the medium package. This package here, gold. Actually, I brought it down to the silver. Now, you might think that's still quite a lot, but actually, you can use the code DC79, which I'll provide you the links and all of the codes. You can get it cheaper. So at the end, you can just look in the description below and you'll see the links with the discount codes that apply for each of these packages. But for me, you want this because you actually get with this, not only do you get deals, leads, but you also get free suspension safeguard. And that basically means if you get suspended or have a policy warning, you can you have video tutorials or help basically to how to approach it, what to do, because it's very, very easy to do the wrong thing when you're in that position, and that's just how it is. So and that's worth about $30, and this ends up not actually being as much as this. So the offset is that you're still getting deals, and the good thing is that if there's ever bonus deals, there's like massive sales, they always do a special bonus sheet, so you can pick up extreme when these bonus sheets appear, which they are literally just like, they're not in this platform, they're done, they've been done historically on Google Sheets. You get a link, it will be like, if Argos have 3 for 2, you just get a list from the midnight of all the 3 for 2 deals and their returns and so you're getting, it's like you can spend thousands or when you get that, and that's like a great little like extra bonus you get from this. And also, if you're a beginner, I would say you don't, really you want expenses low, because for me, if you're a beginner, look at it as a year. Now you want to build up for 9 months so that you can then have a great Q4. That's just how I see it. And if you don't have to take a salary, it doesn't really matter. I know that you see all these people doing all these sales, like, yeah, you want to get up to that level, but what's the point doing £10,000 if you have like £2,000 expenses per month? Because then you're only making 300 quid profit a month, and that's not even taking into consideration salaries. Yeah, and then you're going to have to register for VAT quicker because you're pushing through sales, not actually making anything. And then you've got to, VAT, for example, is not, if you make a loss, you still got to pay VAT. Well, how do you pay VAT when you're making a loss? You see what I'm saying? So like that, it's irrelevant on certain aspects. So you don't want to force it. And I forced it when I started off. God, it's always like how it is. You always do the wrong things at the beginning, but if you can learn fast enough and push through that, then you can actually capitalize later on. And that's always how it is. Just like anything you do, you always learn from the mistakes. You're always a bit more greedy and you're a bit more naive and all that sort of thing. That's just how it is. So whatever. That's how it goes. So you want this, and yeah, you might not think you're buying lots, but it's more momentum. You've got 12 months. This is money for beginners, so I'll push on in a second. But you've got 12 months, to build up, and you might find that every so often you find there's really good items that you want to get. But I'd say if you're a beginner, get 2 to 4 items of each. Maybe not every single item, because you've got to do your due diligence and you've got to actually see if you can sell the items, because you may not be able to. But over time, over say Q1, you'll build up that momentum. Yeah, and if you don't really have to take out much and your expenses are low, then actually it doesn't take you that long to make money. Think about it. Compounding is like the big, if you're, for example, if you only have £1,000 and you've got £200 of expenses, yeah, every month, that's what you pay. Okay, so let's say that £1,000, that's £2,000 sales a month, and you make £600 net difference. You have to then minus your £200 because you've obviously got to pay out stuff, but you're making £600 profit. Yeah, and then you're making, so your difference is 400. Now that 400 going in next month, you've got £1,400 capital to invest in stock. Yeah, well, that 1,400 can almost create, if we're going to go off the doubling principle, well, normally your sales should be double your purchase price. So if you look at an item, it should sell for double. Well, that 1,400 can only do £3,000. Kind of, it can do 2,800 in sales. Yeah. So you've going from 1,000 to 2,000 to almost in the next month, like 33% higher in your revenue. You see what I'm saying? And then if you keep doing that, obviously that £400 profit is now £750 profit, and that £750 profit, it then becomes 1,000. And by the time you get to October, you've got 5, 6, 7 grand extra profit. Well, in Q4, you can, that 5 or 6, 7 doesn't just go up a couple of like £1,000. It might go up double. So at the end of the year, from your initial £1,000 investment, you have £20,000 in the bank. And yes, it might not be exactly that. You might up your expenses, and it might not be quite the same. Or you might do other things, or you might start taking money out of the business. But if you see it as a long project, you could easily have that 1,000 could be 10 grand. It could be, and it does depend if you're using a prep center or if you're prepping from home. What I'm saying is not like, it's not going to work as I am explaining it, okay? Because you will have prep fees if you're doing prep center. But if you're not, then you will make more money. But it just depends on if maybe you don't want this to be anything. You just want it to make yearly, like a yearly bonus. You want it every Christmas for you, to be able to take out 5, 6 grand and do a very limited amount of work. And yeah, you see, but then you might want to do it all hands on and work, and do 3 evenings a week. Don't come home and work 3 evenings a week. But then you might want to take 10 grand home at the end of the year, or 15 grand, and it's all completely different for every single person. And some people take more risks. Some people are a bit more conservative in what they buy and their leads, and that's just how it is. So back to what we're going to do. So this is 99, but obviously, as I said, you can actually get it for 79. So I've got a little expenses sheet here. So this is it, 79 quid. But actually, it's not. So you add 20. So you're actually going to pay 94.80 because you're going to add the VAT on. If you VAT registered, fine, you can get it back. But obviously, if you were doing this, if you were actually getting this one, it would cost 120 quid, 118. But yeah, and you're getting the suspension safeguard. The next thing you want to be getting is not Beagle, BuyBot Pro. Now, the reason you want BuyBot Pro is because online arbitrage deals, links, basically is through the same company or through the same people, and you will pretty much need it for 2 reasons. One, because you need to be able to see what you're going to be making, and it gives you a very, very quick overview. It doesn't cost that much. For the cost that it is, it provides more value than the cost outgoing of the product, basically. It's like anything, if it's a unique product that doesn't cost much, yes, you might not use all the time because you might not need to, but it's not going to actually affect much. So anyway, BuyBot Pro, it looks like this. I know I've done videos on it before, but obviously every so often you've got to start to do a refresher video, and you've got to change the context of everything. Buy, sell, can you sell it? Yes. Is it this, that, and the other? Profits. Gives you sort of indicators here, shows you roughly what it is in Europe. And the cost of this is, I think, 25 quid. 24.90. Yeah, 24.95. Yeah, and no safeguard suspension. Well, you don't need that, okay, because you have the online arbitrage deals. So that's perfect. So it's 24.95 a month. Now it doesn't say plus VAT, so I'm assuming it's a different entity that's offering this. Don't really worry about what I'm saying. So 24.95. Yeah, so you can see that, and this is literally the list that I'm going to be doing. Yes, you will need like boxes if you're doing it your own prep, and you will need like paper or labels or whatever, or tape, or like you might have prep fees, but that is something you're going to have to look in. This is just more like fixed costs, okay? And when I say fixed costs, they are, you could buy 3 items here off this sheet, or 6, and it doesn't cost you any more money. Same here, you could use this 1,000 times on your 1,000 products, or you could use it 5 times on 5 products. You are still paying the same amount. Same with this repricer, which I'll go into right now. So BQ, this is the repricer I use. Yes, there is other ones, but still I've used this and it works well for me, so I just use it. Now you only really need the repricer center You can have a 14-day free trial. And basically, the one that I was using, so I would say never do annually. Now, I used to think the opposite. I used to think I'll do annually, I'll have Q4, and then I'll pay with a lot of profits a yearly subscription, so my expenses are even lower than what I'm doing now. The problem with that is that you're going to pay up front for a year. Now, what if something changes? Either maybe you get your account suspended, or you have to do accounts that getting reviewed because you've got to submit documents, or you actually want to downgrade your package or upgrade your package. Yeah. Now, but you already paid it, so now you actually might be losing out or gaining, or you see what I'm saying? So it's better to have, for me, the monthly package, because you have more flexibility. If I want to go up, I can go up. If I want to bring it down, if I want to cancel it, I can cancel it. When you're paying all annually, if something happens after 4 months, you've actually wasted that last batch, the last month, or those last months. And yeah, this is the one I've now downgraded to. Now, the reason this is because in Q1, obviously, not as many items sell, so I won't be forcing or pushing the product. So obviously, I'm going to be buying products, etc. Great. I actually subscribe to this one, I believe. Yeah. So I just subscribed to the most expensive one, and in Europe. So this is actually just for the UK, and it was $10 for every European country. So I paid like $140 or something. The reason that was because it refreshes it every 5 minutes. It will in Q4. You really want all your listing to be refreshing as fast as possible because there's so many purchases. You don't want your item to be sitting a cut like 5p behind, and it takes an extra 10 minutes to catch up because you're missing out on all those extra sales. So for me, perfect. And obviously I had more listings. And the same with Europe. I wanted to maximize Europe, and I did quite well in Europe, to be fair, considering that they bumped up their sort of costs middle of the year last year. And I've now gone down to this because I don't need to be repricing as fast because things aren't going to be selling as fast. So I don't need to be like trying to force myself as close to that buy box as often, because let's say that my item's now not in the buy box. Well, no one might buy it for 15 minutes because there's not as many people buying things. Yeah. So why do I need to get in that buy box faster? Because, well, okay, I can sit in that buy box, but no one's going to be buying it because actually there's the number of sales, 10x is down or 6x is down. So every 15 minutes sounds, unless you're doing a top 5,000 item or top 3,000 item in the groceries, toys, then it's probably not going to be selling every 5 minutes or every 2 minutes. So you see what I'm trying to say? So I bring this down, I'm saving myself a lot of money, $75. And it's not really going to have a massive impact because it's still going to be repricing. I still have the product and I still have everything. Okay. Now the reason I said you also want BuyBot Pro is because of this. Now you might want to do the opposite. So what I mean by that is instead of spending money with expenses, you might want to try to recoup money with expenses. Oh, sorry. Let me just put $25. Now, not on the spreadsheet, just so we can actually see. Now, I'm going to put £19, £19, even though I don't. Yeah, I'll just put £19 for now. It's not going to be exact. Now, the reason you want BuyBot Pro is because you want to also try to do the opposite of spend. So this is actually like spend. And this could be income. Now, you might think, what am I on about? Now, in my mind, I'm trying to offset this against an opposite of its like a counterpart, so that actually I have no outgoings. Now, as you might know, I've been using Complete Savings, which is meant to bring in £250 cash back per month, just because it gives you 10% on all your retailers. Actually, I've got a lot of pending Complete Savings. I've got like about £600 pending, various dates and stuff, and it normally does tell you if it's been declined, which it hasn't. So it's interesting. I don't know if they haven't got enough money. I'm a little bit unsure because usually it used to pay out a lot faster, and I know a lot of Amazon sellers have started using it, so they may have actually not. They might not have the money to pay out So I will be looking at alternatives. I don't want to, say that I'm going to be getting £250 a month if they don't pay out any more money. Now I look back in the reviews. The reviews are high, and they've been running since 2011. So I would think in my mind, 2011 is a while. Yeah, it's definitely a while. 7 years. So the company must have had fluctuations in people using it and all that sort of thing. And you would think by now there would either be a valid business model, however they do adopt their business model, or not. Because that is yes, it might, like Woolworths and all that, it gets to a point where they try so hard and they just can't. But it doesn't seem to be a one-trick pony, they've just come off, they've just appeared and now they're gone. It'd be around for a decent while. So it'll be interesting to see. I'll give you an update once I actually see any more payments coming through to my bank. And I would put income here, but we're not going to talk about that because I just don't want this, it's an unknown until it actually occurs. But what you could do is you could earn money through deal arbitrage. Okay. Now, what do I mean by this? Basically, you can get £10 per deal. Now, you might have loads of deals from Q4, but actually, because you don't want to keep all those deals for yourself, for example, you're willing to share them now. Because, for example, there are items that I didn't want to obviously submit onto this deal arbitrage because you're getting £10 per lead, but then I'm going to be providing this to 20 people. And I'll be getting more than £10 profit. Well, 2 sales of, say, a couple of items would have made more than £10 because I think I was 1 or 2 people on the listing. And if that 15 people came on the listing, it would have obviously meant the price went down. So in some aspects, this is good, and some aspects, this is bad. Because if there's not many sellers and it's selling for a really good profit, you can't really give it away because the £10 doesn't justify, I sold 120 of some of that Thornton's Christmas thing I told you about, or I showed you about. And I was buying it for £6 and selling it for £14.99 or £15.99. It was selling it was 200 in groceries, and it was just, you could just go to Thornton's and find it, and it's yeah, it just wasn't worth it, which is a shame. But at the same time, there are generic items reasonable items that aren't quite like that, which you can submit. So I've, even if you're making 50 quid, I think I've submitted 4 or 5. Basically, I've gone through my Q4 items and started submitting the items because I don't mind sharing in January and that, because no one's going to be going crazy with their buyings because it's January. So actually, I don't have to be worried that, yes, it could happen, but I have to be worried really that some crazy person's going to come on the list and crash the price, because the last time people are going to be flooding the market, new sellers, is probably January, Q4 maybe, you get on the gist. And I'm happy to, again, reduce my expenses. So that's how I can get 5 leads a month. That's all. Which is not a lot. Obviously, you can't submit the same leads that you get from MyBot Pro. So if you're a brand new seller, you will not be able to implement this. You might have other means of sourcing products, which is good. You might find them by doing copy and paste method or something. But you can get, I'd say you can get 50 quid. Obviously, so what I'll do is I'll put this down here. And I'll go over that in a second. So this will be you see? Well, now I'm starting to offset this. I'll quickly say what I mean by replenishable. So basically, just go over your old items, even for basically just go over as many old items as you can. If you're doing retail arbitrage, it's going to be a bit difficult, but you can still do it if you can click and collect those items. And I was literally I go over my old items periodically to see if they are now back on sale at that price that I bought them for at one point, the sale price. Because you'll find a lot of products go in cycles. They're high, low, high, low, high, low. And if they're a decent product, they're around for a while. And you just got to keep checking. And after a while, you will build a replenishable list of all items that seem to go into cycles. You do it a year, if you do it 6 months of a year, you'll see that items go up and back and forth. So now you can put a replenishable groceries list together, a replenishable health and personal care, so on, so on, so on. And actually, you might want to go through, and you might want to go through that and an F3 leads. So that's what I mean. So this is zero cost. So you're basically, yes, you've got just potentially this, but for me, my replenishables make up 80% of my sales because I've built up such a nice list and taken the time to go over them, which you can get a virtual assistant to do. So I had one at one point, they left me, and I need to get another one. And this is something that I would do. So I don't know if I'm going to get one or two, I haven't decided, or just one for more, for more work, longer hours. And I'll probably get them doing, the replenishables, just like providing, literally going over and giving you a report every morning of the things that are now, in stock or not in stock or whatever. You might have to come up with some sort of system. And, maybe they're going to go and submit these deals on online arbitrage deals before someone else does. Yeah. Online arbitrage dealer. Let's put, so don't confuse you. Now, of course, what I'm going to say right now, this is not financial advice in any way. I know everyone seems to say it on YouTube these days, so why not say the same? Because they're obviously saying it for a reason. So yeah, this is not financial advice in any way, shape, or form. This is just my own personal opinion. Is that enough? I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, you might not be able to do loads of these, and people may have already submitted them, but you can probably, if you learn it a bit, like you figure out, you just play with it. You got to do things to learn, and you got to figure out what seems to be there, doesn't seem to be there, and so on. You can make a bit of money. Now, this is what I mean by, this is not financial advice. Now, I have a Capital on Tap credit card for my business. Yeah, now number one, I always pay it back every single month. I didn't once. I actually, so I think I had like a £3,000 limit. I paid back £2,800 because I wanted to make, I think I only just had enough to cover it, or I thought I was going to have something come out of the bank. So I held back some cash in the bank and only had enough to pay the £2,800. So I was like, okay, I paid the £2,800, I'll get charged interest, because obviously there's interest, it's a credit card, interest on the £200 difference. That wasn't the case. I found out in the small print, I asked them in the chat, what is this about? She said, if you don't pay it all off, you get interest charged on the full sum, which basically is, whatever it is. It wasn't good. And the interest isn't like a normal bank, because it's done basically through like a portal, and it's not done like a traditional, there's a lot of loans and that stuff that you can get now. That's all to do with, they look at your Amazon account, they look at this, they look at that, and it's also, and yes, I've only got a £3,000 limit. It's not like I've got 20 grand on it, but you just got to be careful with this because it's not like a traditional bank where you sort of know what the charges will be. You've got to be very careful. So if you know you're not going to have enough money every month, and all I do is I just hold back money and just pay it off, then I would say don't get it. But the reason I would say do get it is for this reason. Now, luckily, I get like a percent in cash back, but you can get cash back, and the account is free. So you can basically, if you get accepted, your account is free for the first year, like most cards, but you can start earning cash back, and you can cycle through that. Say you have £3,000 limit. I think you can only spend up to 3 or 3.5 the amount. So you can't basically pay it off and keep getting cash back up to like £1 million. You're capped. So it says uncapped commission, which it is, but it also, unless it's changed. Do you have a double check? Because I've got mine such a long time ago. But as far as I know, is that you can only, maybe it's because I got 1%, so they've sort of reined it in on the 1% because it's a bit high, and this is uncapped 0.5. But you can just read up and find it on the FAQs or whatever, and you basically can get cash back. So I think I've got £30 cash back, or I haven't used, because I was going crazy in Q4. Obviously, I didn't really use this credit card that much because I just used it for my normal bank. And I can only go up to 3.5. So I've got I think I can get £60 a month cash back if I max out 3.5 times of the spend. So that'd be like 9,000. What is it? No, whatever it is. I can't be able to work it out. And you basically can get the cash back. So let's say I can get £50 cash back, even though I can get more. Let's just be safe. January, I might not spend as much. I can get, what is it, 50? So let's just do some. So the cost of these is 100, and the cost of this. So you get the gist. So you can see from here, if I just do, and yeah, I know not everyone's going to be able to do this, and you're saying, yeah, but am I going to, yeah, of course. This is just giving you, if I don't show you or tell you, you're not going to really even know that you could do it. So it doesn't mean that you can't do it at some point, you see. And the great thing about this, now you might be thinking, that's not that much. They've actually given me basically a voucher code or a referral. It's a referral code, but we both basically would get £75 into our account. I've read it. I'll double check it and I'll put it all in the description below. Basically, the code is that. So this one reg, yeah, I've read it. So basically, when someone if they use this code when they sign up, and 3 days after being accepted, so you've obviously got to be accepted, we'll both be credited with £75 onto our account. So that's actually like an added bonus, I guess, for anyone that wants to do it. And I know people that have signed up through this after I did a video on it, I don't know, 6 months back or something, 5 months. And they seem, no one's complained yet. So, obviously don't take my advice for any of this. Do your own research. It's not like I'm the person that knows everything. I can just tell you what I know and what I've been given and that. And you get 75 quid, I guess. It's better than nothing. And it's not like I get any more money off you. I would get the £75 just like you. And then that'll be it. And then you just crack on and do whatever. But yeah, it's it's another little bit of income. And yes, you might not get a high credit limit. You might get 1,000. But even £10, £20. Yeah, I know, but you might think, oh, only £20. But you get cash back from that. I found that it's about the little amounts that people overlook. Just like a lot of people think, oh, I'll have high expenses, I'll do high sales, so that must be better. But why? Is it? Because, for example, when you will, if you're doing a series, you have VAT at some point. So the more sales you do, the more VAT you pay. Well, if your expenses are £100, because let's say that I had £1,000 expenses and I pay myself a salary of 1,500. That's 2.5 grand. So I have to do sales, let's say, that's just after I've got to pay VAT as well. Let's just say probably a bit high, but let's say you have to do 12 to 15 grand, yeah? To pay out that, and you've got the VAT that obviously comes off the top of that as well, which I don't know the value of, but yeah. Then basically you don't start making any real profits. What I mean by that is that money that you can put back into the business, or you could give yourself basically, because obviously you've got to pay. Your profits are only after expenses and salaries. Well, salaries are in expenses, so they're sort of the same thing. So when people say, oh, I made this much profit, people haven't actually made that much profit, because you have to actually pay out all your expenses first, whatever you've got to pay. But you've got to pay out everything first, and then whatever's left is actually what profits are. Well, if you're only breaking even, for example, that's what that would be. Breaking even is when you're paying yourself a salary, paying your expenses out, but you're actually not really nothing's really changing. The next month, you still have the same stuff, the same amount of money to spend, and you just go in a circle. Now, if you have, instead of having £1,000 expenses, if you have £100 expenses, yes, you might not do your 12 to 15 grand, but now you can make £900 less profit. Now, obviously, that's just profit. So if you were thinking to converting that into sales, let's say you had to do 2.5 to 3 grand sales. Well, already, that's, say, 2.5 to 3 grand sales, but then you don't have to pay VAT on that 3 grand as well. And the pressure's off, because so basically the overall result is the same. You might actually be able to work 2 hours less a day because you've got to spend all that extra time. It's there's so many little things that are just, you know, there that people don't think that. And I was the same. I was like, yeah, chucking these expenses, whack them up, and I'll send it in. But when you actually do the crunch the numbers at the end, you do realise it doesn't really make a difference if you're doing the high amount or the low amount. It's just in proportion to your salary and wages, salary and expenses. And so for me now, I'm really interested to see how this year will be, because now I'm approaching this as a year. And obviously anything can happen in a year. But if I'd done this 2 years ago, where would I be now, you see? It's very easy to think, oh yeah, but I don't know what's going to be happening in 3 months or 6 months, or what if I can't do this or what? But it's not about, basically you got to forget what you can't control and focus on what you can control, because by wasting your time thinking about what you can't control, if I spend an hour thinking, oh, I can't, but I'm not ungated in that, so is there a way? No. And you start dwelling on it like, oh, why can't I get ungated? Surely there's a way, but you know there really isn't yet. Well, okay, you've just wasted 2 hours. Well, what could you do in that 2 hours? I don't know. You could have actually well, you can do anything in 2 hours. 2 hours is time is money. So in 2 hours, you could source more profitable products. And it doesn't matter if you're not ungated in that item because you found like 2 beautiful items. I don't know, or you've spent the time for researching how to do something else, or all these things. And basically, and also it's just not good for overall morale. Like if you start dwelling on it, it just compounds. It's like the other way around. You start being happy on something, it compounds the other way. And hopefully this video actually makes sense, because I feel like I'm getting more ill or something. I just feel like I'm, like when you have a fever, you're sort of like hallucinating. Okay, I'm not maybe that quite far as that, but you get what I mean. But yeah, anyway. So just for me, I've brought down these expenses and I'm trying to offset them again here with the income side of things, which people probably never even think about. I know not everyone's going to be able to do this, and I think if you're a beginner, start off extremely low and be in a privileged position where you feel like you have more money and you can actually raise your expenses than doing the other way around, thinking, oh, but if I raise my expenses, I must do more sales or get more money, because that isn't necessarily the case. So you've really got to, and I would say as an approach it this way. And I'm going to be looking at this whole year as a year. And yeah, I will up the expenses, of course. I used to have more services on the arbitrage deals. I used to have obviously the high BQ. I used to have a FBA Wizard. I used to have VA at one point. I used to have, I forget what I used to have. There's so many things that are around. But, by chucking it, yeah, okay, it might be cool to say I've done 200 grand, I've done 150 grand, but if you're in a year's time having to go back to work a job, or your whole Amazon business collapses because you lose money and you can't pay taxes or something, then what's the point anyway? Then everyone's just going to laugh at you at some point, And that's what I thought to myself. I was like, well, I could do all this and try to do fancy numbers, but really, just think about it. Not most successful people. Yeah, you can be short-term successful in patches or like periods, but for long-term success, you've really got to be. It's basically just a discipline. And I mean, I'm definitely not as disciplined as I need to be. I need to 5 to 10x is my discipline, but at least I'm aware of it. And that's, I guess, the first point, or the first thing you need to be. You need to do. You need to be aware of things. And then even if it's not working, or you can't seem to get it work, at least you're on the right path, rather than just being oblivious and thinking that you are right. Anyway, I've waffled enough in this video. It's 45 minutes long. Yeah, I need to get something to eat. So anyway, hopefully you enjoyed this video. I will be bringing out the SELLERBOARD full review of SELLERBOARD. It's actually pretty awesome. And I've gone on about it for the last little while. It's just been it's because it's been Christmas and I've been a bit ill and all that sort of thing. Everything I'm doing a little bit, half there at the moment. And I feel that SELLERBOARD is going to be it's something that I always looked at in terms of I knew I needed something after Amazon. So after your sales are done, I used to do everything manually, and it's accurate, but it's not, and you can't really compare very well, and it's all very like manual, all like this, and it's limited to your own understanding. But when you've got like plugins, it pulls all your data off. You can compare months. You add in the prices, it automatically pulls it through. This for me, Sellerboard, is why my Q4 this year was not as good as I expected. But all I'm going to say is, was it as good as I expected? Because if I don't have really complex, in-depth analysis that usually people like analysts could do, but sort of an average person that knows Excel and it's very difficult for them to build something that really has a ridiculously in-depth analysis display, or whatever you want to call it, dashboard. And I find that this is going to actually help next year's Q4. So not only what I've been talking about today, but by having this and getting it in place in Q1, you'll be able to smash Q4 next year and be able to have a very, very good comparison day by day or week by week. Yeah. And I'll go over that in another video, but maybe you get a gist of what I'm trying to say. Anyway, hopefully you loved the video. All of the information that will be in the description below, discount codes or whatever, if you want to do any of that stuff. But if not, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Any questions, let me know. Subscribe, join the Facebook group. What else is there? Press the little bell notification. Have a couple of drinks on New Year's, the usual. Anyway, see you on the next video. Bye.